Hello everyone, so let us check out the solutions to class 8 biology annual exams. Alright, so let us move to the MCQs first. A gardener notices that some plants in his garden have yellow leaves. So yellow leaves, you know, it is due to the lack of magnesium. A person accidentally touches a hot pan and immediately pulls back his hand. What type of action is this? Reflex action is the correct answer, but if you have written involuntary action as well, we can consider that. Okay. So this is assertion. The ventricles of the heart have thicker walls than auricles. The left ventricle pumps blood to the lungs. Both A and R are true. So over here we see A is true, but R is false. Let me zoom it a little bit so that you can see the questions more clearly. A is true, right? Ventricles have thicker walls, that is true. But the left ventricle does not pump blood to the lungs. The left ventricle pumps blood to the rest of the body, right? Okay, sorry, my pen seems to be not working properly. Alright, the next question. What function does the ovary perform in a flowering plant? It produces and protects ovules. While cycling, Rohan suddenly loses balance and falls. His cerebellum is found to be affected. What function does this part of the brain control? Balance and coordination. It says loses balance, right? So it is controlled by the cerebellum. Now next part. What function does vaccination perform in maintaining health? It prevents infections by boosting immunity. So vaccination is to help to improve your immunity. Organic farmer improves soil fertility and reduces pollution. Organic farming uses synthetic fertilizers and pesticides to enhance crop yield. A is true, but R is false. It does not use synthetic fertilizers, it uses natural fertilizers. Which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood from lungs to the heart? Pulmonary vein. Farmer wants to grow a large number of mango trees with the desired variety of mango plant. What method must he use? Grafting. Studied, that is the way to propagate new varieties of plants. So grafting. What is the function of nitrogen fixing bacteria in agriculture? Converting atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds. That is what is known as nitrogen fixing. Fixing means you convert the gaseous nitrogen into its chemicals, into its compounds. Let us move up to the next bit. The pancreas functions as both endocrine and exocrine gland. The pancreas secretes insulin and glucagon directly into the bloodstream. True. These two are hormones, and that's why they are secreted directly into the bloodstream. The diagram below shows different parts of a neuron. Identify. So A, dendrites, B, axon, C, axon terminal, and D is cyton or the cell body. The active component of nicotine is found in opium. Nicotine is found, where is nicotine found? Not in tobacco or alcohol or caffeine or coffee, but opium. The secretion of milk in human females is stimulated by the hormone. This is the prolactin hormone. The place or artificial beehive used for rearing of honeybee is called as apiary. So that was that for the MCQs or the objective type of questions. Now let us move on to question number 2. Name the following. The type of pollination where pollen from the anther of a flower is transferred to the stigma of the same flower, self-pollination. The continuous flow of water as it moves up through the xylem from root to leaves, transpirational pull. The conversion of sugars into ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide, fermentation. So these are the terms. Power of the body to resist and overcome infections, immunity. The double-walled protective covering of the heart, pericardium. Arrange and write the terms in each group in correct order. So the sequence needs to be logical, starting with the term which is underlined. So you see over here stigma was underlined. So that is the first sentence. Pollen lands on stigma. What happens next? Pollen tube grows through the style. That happens next. Then what happens? Male gametes fuse with the egg cell. And lastly, the zygote is formed. So that will be the correct sequence. Now over here in B part, first you begin with pituitary gland. So that is related to the location moving downwards in the human body. So pituitary gland, next is thyroid gland, which is located in the neck area, then the adrenal gland, which is located at the back on top of the kidneys, and then the pancreas, which is located behind the liver. Then cerebrum, the topmost part, then cerebellum, the midbrain, medulla oblongata, the hind brain, and then comes the spinal cord at the base of medulla oblongata. The next one, you begin with right atrium. Deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium. So remember, from the entire body, the blood is coming to the right atrium. All the deoxygenated blood comes over here. Then what happens next? It is pumped to the lungs for oxygenation. It will go to the lungs. That is the second step. Then after oxygenation, it will return to the left atrium, right? Then from the left atrium, it will move to left ventricle, from where it is pumped to the rest of the body. Okay, now these are the steps. Preparing the soil first and foremost. Then you sow the seeds. Then you irrigate it, water it, and then when the crop is ready, you harvest it. Choose the odd one out from the following terms and name the category to which the others belong. Now this is important. If you don't mention this, you don't get marks. Just pointing the odd one out will not get you any marks. You need to choose the odd one out, as well as you need to mention why is that odd. Insulin, adrenaline, hemoglobin, thyroxine. Of course, hemoglobin, because the rest of them, insulin, adrenaline, thyroxine, they are all hormones. Horse, camel, goat, ox. Horse, camel, ox, they all work for us. Goat does not work for us. So they are like beasts of burden. So they are used to carry things. Cyton, cerebrum, axon, dendrites. Of course, cerebrum, because it is a part of brain, whereas these are the parts of neuron. Budding, cutting, grafting, layering. So budding is a natural way of asexual reproduction, whereas cutting, grafting, layering, they are all methods of artificial methods of vegetative propagation. Budding is a natural method, right? BCG vaccine, rabies vaccine, TB vaccine, Salix vaccine. BCG, because all the others, they are made up of killed germs, whereas BCG is made from weakened germs. Now let us move to the fourth bit. Match the items given in column. Vaccine, suspension of disease producing microorganisms. It helps to stop the microorganisms from spreading disease. Cross pollination, transfer of pollen on different plant but same species, right? That is cross pollination. So the same species but a different plant. Xylem, parenchyma, they are the living cells in plants. They are the only living cells of living components of xylem. Bacteria incurred, lactobacillus, of course. White revolution, operation flood. Correct and rewrite the following statements by changing only the underlined word. Pacemaker is located in the wall of the right auricle, not in right ventricle. The disease caused germs are called as pathogens. Water passes from the soil into the root hair by a process called osmosis. Pollen grains are removed from matured anthers. That is not called bagging, it is called as emasculation. Insulin raises the blood sugar level. No, glucagon. Insulin reduces the blood sugar. That's why the people who are diabetic, they take insulin medicine or insulin injections. Now we move on to section B. Expand AIDS. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Right? Sorry. My pen is going haywire. That is the expansion. Give two characteristics of insect pollinated flowers. They have nectar, they produce scent, they are brightly colored to attract insects. Any of these two you can mention. Differentiate between the motor nerve and the sensory nerve based on their function. So motor nerve carries the impulse from the brain or the spinal cord to muscles, whereas the sensory nerve carries impulses from sensory organs to the brain, right? So that is the difference between them. Why are endocrine glands also called as ductless glands? Because they do not have ducts. It's obvious over here. And since they do not have ducts, they directly pour the secretion into the bloodstream. Observe the diagram of flower given below and answer the question. What type of pollination will suit this flower? Self-pollination or cross-pollination. So you can see this is a bisexual flower. You can see both the androecium and the gynoecium over here. Since both the reproductive organs are present in the same flower, so self-pollination will be more suitable. Name the process of fusion of male and female gamete. Fertilization. What is formed? Zygote. Write the major role played by petals in flowers. We already said so. Insect pollinated flowers, they are brightly colored, so they attract insects for pollination, right? So that's why the flowers which are insect pollinated, they will have bright, large flowers. Different parts of carpel: stigma, style, ovary. Okay, now let us move on to the next bit. Define systemic circulation. So what do you mean by systemic circulation? When the blood, the circulation of oxygenated blood from left ventricle to all parts of the body. So first and foremost, oxygenated blood is being circulated from left ventricle to all parts of the body through aorta. That is not it. And from all body parts by vena cava to the right auricle. So that is the entire circulation. So other than the lungs, when all the rest of the body parts are involved in the circulation, it is termed as systemic circulation. Write two physical changes occurring in boys and girls during adolescence. Also mention the hormones playing the major role in these changes. So first let us talk about what are the major physical changes which occur in boys and girls. So you will find that in boys, their shoulders broaden up and their chest becomes wider, whereas in girls you find generally that the region which is below the waist, that helps, that grows wider, right? Region below the waist, that part of the body becomes wider. Sorry. In girls, there is development of breasts along with the onset of puberty, whereas in boys, facial hair, chest hair, those are very common changes during adolescence that you can see. Now, if we talk about the hormones, also mention, the question says, also mention the hormones. So when we are talking about the hormones, the major hormones are the sex hormones and the growth hormones, right? So that is what influences or affects the changes during adolescence. Now let us move to this next question. Suggest any 2 points to keep in mind while housing the birds. So if you're keeping the birds, then here when we're talking about birds, we are talking about the chicken, or we are talking about poultry, right? So if you are running a poultry, then these are the things that you should be taking care of. First and foremost, the ventilation. The region where they are kept must be properly ventilated. The rooms where they are kept must be cleaned. The sunlight, they must get sufficient sunlight. Then they can be kept in sheds or wire cages. Then the birds of different ages must be kept separately so that you can keep a track of which birds are which. Differentiate between Rabi crop and Kharif crop with examples. So let us take this over here. So Rabi crops are sown in winter and harvested in spring, whereas Kharif crops, they are sown in monsoon and they are harvested in autumn. What are the examples? So wheat, mustard, gram, barley, these are the examples of Rabi crops, right? So they are like the summer crops, you know. Wheat is harvested during April, right? So when we have Baisakhi and other festivals, like even starts with Holi. So in Holi you have those raw green wheat, what do you call them, the baal जिसको बोलते हैं गेहूं की बाल. So those grains, the green grains that are there. Then examples of Kharif crops: rice, maize, millet. So you see, they are planted during monsoons and they are harvested in autumn, around October or so. Sugarcane, these are all Kharif crops. Identify the structure. Given below is a diagram of an important part of nervous system. Study the diagram and answer the question. Identify the structure. This is, you can see this dark H-shaped structure inside, that tells you it is spinal cord. And write the protective covering of the structure. It is the vertebral column. So the bony vertebral column protects the spinal cord inside it. Give the arrangement of neuron in this structure. So the outside white matter, the light one, is made up of axons, the nerve fibers, and the inner gray matter is made up of cell bodies or cytons. Remember, in the brain it is just the opposite. The outer is the dark part and the inner is the lighter part. So outer part is the cell body in brain. So the brain and the spinal cord, they have reverse arrangement. Name the canal in the structure and the fluid present in it. This canal is a tiny opening over here. This canal is called as the central canal and the cerebrospinal fluid. So remember, it flows through the brain and it surrounds the brain as well. So cerebrospinal fluid. So it connects the brain and the spinal cord. Now let us move on to the next question. Question number 5. Define the term animal husbandry. So this is the branch of agriculture where animals are reared, bred and raised for their products. So here animals, they are allowed to breed, they are पालते हैं जानवरों को, उनकी ब्रीडिंग करते हैं और उनके प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए उनको बड़ा करते हैं कि उनको पालते हैं. Which part of the brain is affected after consuming alcohol? So alcohol consume करने से cerebellum पर effect आता है ना, बैलेंस. देखा होगा ना, नशे में जो रहते हैं वो लोग अपना बैलेंस खो देते हैं, लुढ़क जाते हैं. तो क्या होता है इसके इफेक्ट्स? एक तो ब्लड शुगर बहुत लो हो सकता है, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases can result, harmful effects of drinking alcohol, liver damage, it affects your judgment to take a right decision. You are unable to take a right decision if you are drunk, if you are under the influence of alcohol. Based on the origin of nerves, name the two types of nerves and write one difference. Cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Cranial nerves, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. That is one difference. You can write cranial nerves originate from the brain, spinal nerves originate from the spine, and that's that. Name the type of asexual reproduction in the following organisms. Spirogyra, fragmentation. Yeast, budding. So it's just name that you have to give. The diagram below shows a leguminous plant root nodule associated with nitrogen fixing bacteria. Achha, this I have added over here. So it reduces self-control and coordination. You are not able to hold on to things. You keep dropping things. It also affects vision and alertness, which could result in accidents. So if someone is driving drunk, then there is high possibility that they might get into an accident. Identify the process associated with the above diagram. So you can see these are the leguminous roots. So obviously nitrogen fixation is happening over here. Write one example of a leguminous plant. You can mention pea, you can mention beans, chickpeas, anything. So all those plants which have seeds in pods or legumes, जैसे मटर का फ्रूट होता है वैसे ही टाइप का फ्रूट होता है. दैट्स वाई दे आर कॉल्ड एज लेग्यूमिनस प्लांट. जितनी भी तरह की दाल हैं, ऑल दोज बिलोंग टू लेग्यूमिनस फैमिली. Mention the bacteria playing the major role in the above diagram. So over here we know that there are nitrogen fixing bacteria, right? So कौन से हैं? Rhizobium, Nitrobacter, Nitrosomonas. So these are the bacteria जो कि इसमें main जो है वो that is Rhizobium. It's not writing. Rhizobium is the main bacteria. Other than that, Nitrobacter, Nitrosomonas, they are also there. What type of relationship is between the root of plant and the bacteria? It is symbiotic relation because it is helping the plant by making the soil fertile, and for the bacteria it is giving them a place to live. So it is giving them a home. Now we come to the last part. Mention the role of the pericardial fluid. Pericardial fluid is the fluid that surrounds the heart, right? In the pericardium, between the heart and the pericardium. It absorbs shocks and jerks, and it also serves as a lubricant because the heart is pumping blood constantly, so it's moving constantly. So if there is no proper lubrication, then the heart muscles will begin to wear off. So it also helps us to counter the shocks and jerks. Water diagram, you got this in your textbook. I'm sure you would have been able to do that. What are the special features of a bacteria making them useful in food industry? So first and foremost, curdling of milk. They are able to form curd. They give flavor to cheese. They are also helpful in producing alcohol, wine, vinegar, in curing of tea and tobacco. So these are the various functions that bacteria perform in the food industry. What is the exact location of cerebellum? It is below the cerebrum. Where is bicuspid valve located? In between left auricle and left ventricle. It is on the left side of the heart, bicuspid. On the right side of the heart, between right auricle and right ventricle, we have tricuspid valve. Now we come to the last question. This apparatus is set up and it was kept in sunlight, and then inside the bell jar the water droplets are seen. Identify the process being studied over here. Explain the process. First and foremost, we can understand from the water droplets that the process is transpiration. What happens during transpiration is the excess water is lost in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant, majorly the leaves, right? So these water vapors, because they are not able to come out in the air, they are trapped by the bell jar, so they start to condense over there inside the bell jar, and that's why we see these droplets over here. Mention 2 ways in which this process is beneficial to plants. It cools the plant and environment, first and foremost. Wherever there are plants, it will always remain cool. Distribution of water and minerals. So how do they help in distributing them? Because the water is being lost constantly, so the water is also being pulled by the roots, which is called as the transpirational pull, right? Because of this, the water is pulled inside the plant. So from soil to leaves, so the water is able to reach the leaves, and this water in the leaves is what is used for photosynthesis. So this is how it is. This transpiration, process of transpiration is very important. What happens if the setup is kept in bright light? It increases. The rate of transpiration increases because the photosynthesis starts to happen starts to proceed at a rapid pace, so the water evaporation also, the transpiration also increases. If you keep it under the fan, then also it increases, because you are taking away the humidity, and all the water droplets, they keep on getting spread out or diffused in the air around it, so the process of transpiration increases. Because remember, these are the factors that affect transpiration. So wind and bright light. So that was that for our solutions today. I hope that you were able to get all the answers. Thank you so much for watching along with me.